Hello everyone and welcome back to the comments section. My name's Brian if you happen to be new around here, but if you're a returning subscriber, thanks so much for coming in and checking out this semi-podcast where we do a deep dive in what you guys have to say. Now this specific show, this episode, is built off of the latest Zepla HQ episode because I've got some interesting comments and I thought it'd be a good opportunity to talk about them more in depth, because if you're feeling the way that Jankmaster feels, I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to actually have a productive conversation around it, but that's what we're going to explore here. Now, Jankmaster, with their comment, actually threw me off guard. They said, a grifter's gonna grift, huh? And I was thinking their specific focus was on Zeppelin. I was like, how is she a grifter, is my reply. But then ultimately they respond with, you grifting off of her, laughing, crying face to the side. And I was like, okay, this is interesting, but it didn't end there. This thread ended up kind of going on for a little bit longer, and Eric follows this up and says, this isn't grifting. Even if he's doing it solely for clout, it doesn't fit the definition of grifting. And Laker John 24 says, why is it okay for Zepla to react and cover Brian taking a break from Final Fantasy 14, but he can't cover her taking a break from Twitch? ? And I heart that one because honestly, I think that's kind of the root of it all in this case. Now, first and foremost, I am so blessed by you guys to not have to do any of this stuff for clout. If you chose to unsubscribe and never watch any of my content again, I'd miss you, but thankfully my well-being, my family's well-being, isn't relying on a relationship that's built off of this kind of fragility, or in a way, you know, just for lack of a better term, this kind of fakeness where I have to try and appease you or say the thing you want to hear so that, oh my gosh, that you don't leave the channel. And the fact is that I will encourage you to unsubscribe and to leave if it's better for your both mental health and your enjoyment of content here on the platform. I tend to lean into education. I like this aspect of data. I think those are some real key points to start to understand the emotion behind people's choices. I'm not for everybody. I recognize that. But for those of you who do enjoy the content, that's why I stick around. The core aspect here, it isn't for clout. It really is for the direct messages for people who message me saying that I've helped them out in some way. There's a lot of subtext to each of the videos that I make. There's a lot of hope that I try to give people. There's a lot of, in an honest way, kind of a kick in the pants, get out there and get it done kind of approach, because I believe in that. I respect people who do things and don't let analysis paralysis lock them down. And my hope is that I can help everybody get unstuck from whatever they're stuck in. We've all been stuck from things from time to time. And sometimes to really understand it, you can sometimes it takes a third party like me in this case, but sometimes it could take a really good friend. And that is essentially kind of the hope that I try to bring into each of these videos, in which we talk about video games as kind of a medium for which that we can hopefully have real conversations about life, family, goals, living out your dreams and being the people and the person that you want to be in this life. And so that's why for me, it's always interesting because everybody's going to engage in this content differently. There's already people who've dipped out of the video in less than 30 seconds, and they don't really care for what the videos say. And I know this because I have the stats to back it up. And that's something that's always truly interesting and fascinating to me as a content creator, but namely as somebody who also consumes content. I get to see both sides of the coin. I get to see what games people play, because that is essentially kind of the gift that you guys give me. Now you can, if you want to label it as clout, that's fine. I don't honestly care. That's again the gift that you guys give me. It is a trueness that I can be myself with you in these videos, and then that way you can decide if you want to stick around or not. There's no pretension. There's no misconceptions. There's no I think it's a matter that I respect the hell out of you guys so much that I'm not going to sit here and lie to you, and you can choose if you want to engage in that. And hopefully that's a good relationship, but that's just my comment regarding cloud. Now, in terms of it though, like obviously, yes, not grifting off of them, but I thought this comment from Laker, bringing it back up again on screen, why is it okay for Zepla to react to me? And then when she takes a break, I don't actually do a reaction. I do kind of a breakdown analysis. It's just my approach, because we've talked about how reaction content isn't necessarily a good thing. Now, if YouTube brought in a concept of like even analytics sharing, even in likes sharing, I think the simplest solution for them to do, because they do this with the shorts, is revenue sharing. But for me, in my perspective, this isn't a revenue concept. This isn't even a revenue aspect, but it becomes a great equalizer. So I'm going to use actual numbers that we're going to share here today. So if this is information and you like this, hit the like button, because that's going to help this video out, because I'm sure that a lot of people have already dipped out. And yeah, I like to see how many, or hopefully teach people really kind of what's the truth behind the content, because I think a lot of content creators put up a lot of falsities, like everything's great, oh my gosh, the numbers are so wild, but then behind the scenes they're panicking, they're trying to figure out how to pay the bills. And that personally concerns me. Kind of my dad gene kicks in. That personally concerns me for them. And yeah, we want to explore it. So in that case, let's pull up the numbers that we have that are public for Zeppela's reaction to me regarding when I quit Final Fantasy 14. She got around 55,000 views. Now I got just under 100,000 views. And if we bring that up, you can see my numbers just under 1,000. Watch time was just under 5,000 hours. I lost almost 500 subscribers, and I gained $265.79. Now that video has not done anything else after that. Now, this is something I don't like to create. I like to create content that's searchable, discoverable, and has as much life to it as possible, because I go work like a job and spend time with the family, and I like to make content that people can find and that are valuable, aka guides, news, reviews. That's essentially the breakdown. But if we use my CPM, which if you guys want to know my CPM, if I pull it up here, yes, here we go. For last year, my CPM was at 670 and my RPM was at 470 in this case. So CPM is basically the average of what the advertisers pay per thousand, what they call like mils or whatever, but you know, 1,000 views. And then the RPM is actually after Google takes its cut and all the cuts get divided out, etc., etc. I ended up getting paid $4.70 on average for the year. Now, bringing up this year, currently CPM is actually higher at 741, but my RPM is much lower at 264. But anyway, we're going to use last year's averages around this time, because that would include the time that the video was released at $4.70. Using that math, the low end of what Zeppela made was $258.50, so just under what I made. But the difference here is that it's actually much, much higher, because her watch time for this is going to be much, much longer. If I look at the tail, you can see on my video, the average percentage views was 21% viewed, which drives the average view duration to just 3 minutes of a 15-minute video. Not necessarily what then YouTube is going to recommend, or people are going to necessarily watch or hang out through to the end. But it's interesting, you can see the various different spikes listed on this. Now, what that means is that Zeppela easily probably made $500 off of that video. Good for her. It doesn't hurt me at all. I hope that, you know, it seems like she either enjoyed the video, but it was a good conversation nonetheless. I really wish we could have done that collab podcast that we talked about, but life gets busy, and that's no fault of anybody's in this case. I know my schedule's really wacky, and yeah, it just didn't come together. But just to kind of put this in comparison, for Asmongold's sake, he got 744 views, which means based off of my CPM, my RPM in this case, he would have made at a minimum $3,500 off of my video. But I would guarantee that's probably double, if not that, namely because of the watch time. Zeppela's being 38 minutes, Zakrar's being 37 minutes long. And so, yeah, that's going to be the case there. Like, they profited greatly off of my video. And that's where YouTube is going to be the sole arbiter of fixing kind of these kind of reaction channel content perspectives. And I'm not dogging reaction content. I just choose to share the revenue that I make off of reaction content with the person that I'm reacting to. And sometimes it's easy to do with like a super thanks or like a sub or something like that. Sometimes it becomes a couple of hoops have to be jumped through just so I can try and get them that kind of money. Now, the reason I bring all those stats up, the reason I want to kind of bring that up is to bring it up in the true form of the word of these numbers, right? Because the subtext of really what Jankmaster is getting at is that they believe that I shouldn't be able to talk about these subjects. And like, you're entitled to your opinion. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. You can like me, you can hate me, you can ignore me. But what's weird in this situation is Jankmaster is supporting the content through engagement, but at the same time leaving something that I feel is grossly uninformed. If I just speak to it directly, is this essentially me grifting? Is this me, or is it them? Are they grifting off of me in this case? In the end of the day, it's just content for content's sake. Ideally, what I try to produce and put out in the world for those who are interested in it is something that can give them insight into what is truly happening and going on behind the scenes. Why would I exclude Zepla and only react to anybody else that's in my circle of, I guess, content, right? I wouldn't. It would feel almost, in my personal opinion, my personal purview, it would feel dishonest to sit here and say, well, I'm going to talk about what's going on with Pyro, but I'm not going to talk about what's going on with Zepla, or vice versa. Whenever these big stories tend to break and people are talking about them, that's kind of the thing. Like, social media is kind of an engagement platform. I do believe in this case that, like, Jank Masta and people who think like him, fall into the category is that because there is a financial incentive, because in this case, like on that video that I posted, I made $9.91 and lost 4 subscribers, gaining around 2.4 views. And then it's got that flat line that's associated with it. That flat line isn't really going to go up. A couple people might check out that video over the course of its life, but it's not necessarily pressing information. Once Zepla comes back, then she's back. And that's actually the key point. That's why I led with the idea that if you support Zepla, if you like her content, it's critical for you to go and do so, because the real message behind that video is that everybody's suffering. And if you like them, you like their content, them taking a break is a serious financial risk, To put this again into perspective, Asmongold, from the numbers, has lost almost 4,000 subscribers over on Twitch. I don't think Twitch is doing anybody any favors. And if you are a content creator who want to pour your life and soul into Twitch, I would just caution you to be aware that there are massive ups and there are massive downs. Will we continue to see the downs in Twitch? Well, maybe, but I'm not so sure. Now, in Zach's case, he also streams over on Zach Rar, which his numbers are doing well, but we don't have yet the active subscriber number for him. But we can see that him not streaming on Asmongold obviously has a big, consequence, also has a big number attached to it. And clearly there's other avenues and things that he's able to do this, and he's got enough money that he can easily take these kind of breaks so that it isn't a huge risk. But I don't know if that's the case. And so that's why I want to continue to encourage you, who's ever still listening to this, that there is hope. You can get out of debt. You can live the life that you dream of. It's going to probably be painful, especially if you owe money. My wife and I, we paid off over $100,000. It was painful. It was hard. But thankfully, through that pain, we now no longer will borrow money. The last thing that I will ever want to do is borrow money, because it's just not worth it. It's really just borrowing from your future, and you're worth it. Your future's worth it, and that's the message that I want to constantly get across in these videos, in the subtext of what we talk about, with games being the medium in which that you and I can talk about things that we enjoy, and at the same time encourage each other to be better. But I don't know if Jank Masta, if you're still listening, but thank you so much for the comment, dude. Your love, peace be with you, and I really hope that you have the best life that you possibly can. I would encourage you to rethink what you think, to challenge what you believe to be about me or anybody for that matter. And at the end of the day, either just enjoy the content or just avoid the content, because the content's going to keep coming, and no amount will, there's nothing anybody can do that's going to stop me from wanting to make videos for you guys. This is my hobby. This is the one way I de-stress after a hard day. I get to sit down and talk to you guys and share with you guys information about video games. And that's going to be it. That's going to be it for this video. I think we got you guys some good information. Hopefully you enjoyed the comments and the conversation. If you agree with Jank Masta, sound off. I would love as much information as possible as to how you come to those conclusions. But if you don't, also would love as much information as what you feel like I could do better. Critique is always welcome here, and I always look forward to reading it. And that's a big part of the entertainment that you guys provide me, reading through your comments and kind of getting a good gauge as to what is the most important conversation that we can have. Anyway, thanks so much for listening. Hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully I'll see you next time. But until then, take care.